What's up in War Eagle? Everybody, it's your guy Ike Jones. We are live and in effect inside LAUB Town. The final from Neville Arena, Auburn 82-59. Um, Crazy, absolutely crazy game. Um, the ending of that game was absolutely insane. Anyway, Cheney Johnson, super athletic. Anyway, let's get straight into it, man. It was pretty much dominance all the way through in this game. Auburn shot a ridiculous 44% from three in this game, 91% from the free throw line, 58% overall from the field. How can you not love it when you see stuff like that happening with your team? I think, there was a lot of emotion coming into this game, of course, with the return of the Flanagans to Neville Arena. But I don't think it got crazy. Like you could tell there was still a lot of respect between the two parties, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see what this game looks like and when Auburn makes the trip over to Oxford. If you're getting in here, do the necessary. As always, please go ahead and share the video with somebody out there, social media, wherever. Like the video if you can, give us that thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But let's just get in here and talk about what happened in this game, man. Because I mean, listen, this was balanced. It wasn't just one guy going off. Your leading scorers, Jalen Williams and Janai Broome, both had 13 on 5 of 7 and 5 of 9 shooting. Then you have Dylan Cardwell with another 12-point game tonight on 5 of 6 shooting. Auburn didn't miss but one free throw in this game, I think. Yeah, Lior missed one free throw. That's it. 10 of 11 from the free throw line. But Dylan Cardwell, Janai Broome made their free throws. It was just, I mean, I don't know that there's been a better game against a quality opponent. I mean, this is a top 25 matchup, and Auburn absolutely dismantled Ole Miss. This is exactly what you want to be able to do to that team. And it wasn't even one of those things where Ole Miss was just missing a bunch of open shots. This was every shot that Ole Miss made was a tough bucket. They were doing their absolute best to be in the hip pocket of all the shooters. They had a couple of, lapses on defense where they got some easy stuff. And Auburn really didn't even play their best offensive game. Some sloppy points with it throughout the game, and you still go out here and absolutely destroy this team. This is a really good Auburn basketball team. I'm not sure what else to say other than they're really good and they're going to be a tough out. Now, there are some really good teams in this conference, but Auburn is definitely amongst them. Let's get into some more of the statistics that we have from this game. Auburn was able to force 17 turnovers. Now, you gave up 16 as well. So that's what I'm talking about the sloppy play. 16 turnovers is way too many. You want to be closer to 10 or less, really, to be in a good place. But 22 points off of those forced turnovers that Auburn had. You lost the rebounding battle by one board. Really, at the end of the game, they got a lot of second chance opportunities there in the end. Jamarian Sharp did a good job of getting to the boards late to be able to get that gap back in the favor of Ole Miss. They got 16 total offensive rebounds in that game, did Ole Miss. But 22 second chance points, not too bad for Auburn. But here it is, again, the big statistic. 40-18 in bench scoring. 40 points from your bench versus 18 for Ole Miss. That is going to be the big differentiator between Auburn and these other teams, is that the bench is going to come in and it's going to really make it difficult for teams to either sustain leads or to come back in games, because they've got to expend so much energy with their top 7-8 guys that Auburn's just going to keep sending another wave of guys out there at you. And it's this guy's in foul trouble, this guy's tired, this guy, whatever. They're going to send another one out there and he's going to be just as fresh. I'm going to get to Cheney Johnson in a minute because I think he played one of his better games of the season. He looked more into it. But let's talk a little bit about something that I talked about in the pregame, if you were able to watch that. And that was kind of how Auburn was going to deal with what Ole Miss does with their motion and cut offense. And they stayed true to the principles, which was we're going to switch most of this action. But Auburn did a really good job of making sure that Ole Miss was not really able to get downhill versus some of those curl cuts that they like to do in that Chris Beard offense. They were keeping Ole Miss. They would hedge out high against that to force the driver further away from the basket, give more time to recover. They were doing a really good job of getting out to the shooters in the corners as well. This was a really well scouted defensive strategic game. Ole Miss actually played decent defense in this game at points, but Auburn was very much the aggressor when it came to just about every portion of this game. Again, other than the late rebounds, Auburn was the aggressor, and it made it really difficult for Ole Miss to get into the flow of either offensively or defensively, just because the pace was so frenetic. I didn't expect Ole Miss to really want to get into an up and down pace like this, because it does favor Auburn when you're doing that. If it's frantic, that's really kind of where Auburn wants to be, specifically against teams that are prone to turn the ball over, like Ole Miss has been. Again, versus LSU, this is what they did. You sped them up, and they were being sloppy with the basketball. That happened again in this game. 17 turnovers again for Ole Miss. Auburn did a really good job there of getting them out of their comfort zone. One of the best three-point shooting teams in the conference, only able to shoot a 24% clip from the three-point line, 4 of 17. A lot of those, I mean, they missed some makeable ones, right? But a lot of what you saw from those misses from them was just they weren't getting to the spots that they typically do. A lot of forces in situations. Auburn was doing a good job of not allowing Ole Miss to really dictate where they got their shots from. It was just like, you got to take the shot that we're giving you, because we're not giving you the one that you want. So I loved what they were able to do in this game. If you follow me on Twitter, then you saw me point out how early in this game Auburn did a really good job offensively of getting assists to make buckets, right? So 19 assists in this game. Of the 32 makes, 19 of those come off of assisted buckets. That's a team that really understands how to share the basketball and does a really good job of not taking shots that aren't for them, right? So you saw a lot of late in the shot clock, they got some shots up late where they probably overpassed, but you saw them passing the basketball really well. The ball movement was excellent for the most part tonight. If they can clean up some of the stuff that they did on maybe some of the pick and roll actions that they were doing to try to get the ball to Dylan Cartwell, this game looks even uglier because he was open on some of those dive downs. And Ole Miss did a good job of recovering to some of those spots to not make it an easy pass. But Dylan probably would have gone for like 20 had he gotten a couple more clean looks from better passes from his teammates. But excellent all the way through for Auburn. And this team is definitely in a place where they're dangerous. It's a dangerous basketball team right now, walking into anybody's arena. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they perform on their next road trip, because in Neville Arena, this team seems like a juggernaut. So looking forward to seeing how they overcome some adversity on the road. But listen, man, they haven't been in very many close games this year. They've lost the close ones that they were in, but they are blowing the doors off of everybody right now, and it's not looking particularly close. It's not looking particularly close. All right, let's get over here into the comment section, and I'll get back to hearing soliloquies from me about things that are happening. But we'll start it off with a super chat here from Oda Smith, who says, in my opinion, this team is better than our Final Four team. This team is just much more complete. It's remarkable. You can't tell me there are 12 teams better than us, War Damn Eagle. I'll have to agree with you that I think top to bottom, this is the best team that Bruce Pearl has had. I think Mike has said that on a couple of occasions. Now, whether they achieve to the level of that Final Four team, I don't know. But just because there are so many different guys that can contribute on any given night. When we go back here and again look at the stat line, you've got 1, 2, 3 guys that are in double digits. Cheney Johnson had 8, Aiden had 9, just outside of the double figure mark. And then, you don't even really like, this is a game where Chad Baker-Mazar took 2 shots. He made both of them, but he took 2 shots in the game. Right. A guy who's been, who I expected to really kind of have a big game tonight, only took 2 shots in this game, but impacted the game in so many ways, only played 14 minutes. That's how crazy deep this team is. But yeah, man, amazing. Don Cullen jumps in and says 8 threes by 8 different players. Wow. Yes, that is the level to which Auburn is just coming at these teams relentlessly with waves of offense that is difficult to be able to match up against because like who's the guy that you say, okay, if you stop this guy, they're fine, right? Like it used to be last year, we shut Janai Broom down, now make somebody else score. This year, Janai, I mean, he's just casually going through and getting double figures in every game, but it's not because he's dominating other teams. He's just kind of, hey, I get a put back here, knock a couple free throws down here, get something in transition right here, get a little post up, a little easy one right there. Like he's just kind of he's sleepwalking his way into double digits right now in scoring, and it's been amazing to see. Auburn Dad for Life says Ike should have took the facts are not only the 15 plus. I did not take Auburn at 15 plus, and B Will did. So we'll have to talk about that this Friday coming up about how I was expecting this to be a much closer game than what it was, and it was not even remotely close. So I will. I'm glad that I was wrong about that. Um, Scott Chapman and more people have said this, but I just saw his most recently. That last stop was nasty. Look, Cheney Johnson was determined to be like, nah, y'all not getting this little extra whatever, bro. And then my man Darren Scott cleaned up again. And I think I liked the most. I think it was I can't remember which guy it was that I think it was Musalak that got the board afterwards and he slammed the ball down. Like how excited they were to get that last stop. Like this team is out there having fun. They are congratulating one another when they make big plays. The bench is going crazy. Like they're just out there having fun playing basketball and serving beatdowns to people, man. That is, I mean, as a fan of the team, of course, I love seeing it, but you kind of love it where it doesn't feel cocky. It just feels like young guys enjoying the game of basketball. And yeah, this is going to be I'm looking forward to seeing this team play Tennessee and Kentucky, because those to me are the other teams that are the class of this league, and so it's going to be interesting to see how we match up with those guys. But man, tonight was absolutely exhilarating to watch. Let's see here. So Nina says, "War Damn Eagle, I love how excited this team is for the third string when they get playing time." Absolutely, is what I was just talking about. They watch each other do great things and they celebrate it. This team seems like they are really together, much more than the last couple of years. Much more. Like I think everybody enjoys seeing their guys who are walk-ons or whatever go get points, but it just seems like this team is just really tied together in a different way than you've seen teams recently, and it's wonderful to think. It's a wonderful thing to see. Let's see here. What else do we got? Hey, let's talk about this. Ephesians 2:8-9 says, been seeing flashes from Cheney Johnson. If he plays at his ceiling, man, this team, wow. Let's talk about Cheney Johnson for a second, man. He still had, a couple of plays where you're like, Cheney, what are you doing right there? But his confidence in the half court of getting to his spots and getting to his shots way more. He's shooting it without hesitation when the ball swings to him at three in certain instances. Stat line's not going to blow you away, but let's just talk about Cheney Johnson's stat line tonight. 3 of 4 shooting, didn't take any threes tonight, and he had 5 rebounds. So 6 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, only the 1 turnover, and that ridiculous block at the end of the game. But it was just the way he got to his shots. The 3 shots that he made in this game, all of them came off of him making like a little move. And then I loved the dump down that he had. He had the post touch and he turns and gets it to Dylan for his assist. That I loved everything about the minutes that Cheney gave you tonight. A couple of fouls that I felt like were a little silly, but his athleticism showed itself. Again, the little crossover he gave you into like an 18-footer that he dropped, and then he gives you the other kind of in the paint turnaround situation that I've seen him do. That's the shot I saw him get consistently when I watched him. When we first picked him up as a transfer, and then the other one I think was like a dunk that he got from a really great look. But if he's going to be able to give you buckets like that where he's giving you potentially like 8 to 10 points just off of I don't again, I say this often. If you're gonna get that from this guy, I don't know how you beat this team. That's just another layer of like if you're gonna get a night like this from Cheney, that's not even a lot of points, but and we'll talk about Leo Berman in a minute, but whew, but if you're gonna get nights like that from so let's talk about it right now. If you're gonna get nights like you had tonight from Leor and Cheney, who together only 10 points total, but it's the quality of the minutes that they had, right? So 28 minutes between the two, 18 for Cheney Johnson, 10 for Leo Berman. But they combined for a 4 of 6 from the field, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, the one missed, of course, from Leo Berman. They get you 8 rebounds now, and only 1 turnover, and the block shot there from Cheney. And Leor, I don't. Maybe it's because he played against him in scout team so much. He came ready for Al tonight, bro. Like I was, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. When they had Leor facing Al and he came down, I was like, yo, like Al's about to eat my man's lunch right now. And Leor locked him up like every time. I was like, what is happening right now? I think maybe it's the familiarity. I don't know, man. But Leor had the boy in the pressure cooker, man. I'm like, golly, we're in a different place. We're in a different place right now. If Leor is locking up one of the most athletic, combo guards in the country, um, I don't know, man. Like I said, maybe it's the years of him going against him in scout team where he's like, oh, okay, well, this is back. We back in practice again, and he just felt comfortable. But man, Leor had quality minutes tonight, and these are the type of minutes that you want to get from Leor. Now he was, from the 3, he was 1 of 2. The second one he had, I don't know if Neville Arena would still have a roof if he had hit that second one, but you got some really quality minutes from Cheney Johnson and Leo Berman tonight that allowed you to not have to play Chad Baker Mazzara. But again, what did I say? 12 minutes? Let me go back and look at this. 14 total minutes for you only get 14 minutes from him, but you can get 28 from Leo. Man, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Um, and what can we say about a guy like Dylan Cardwell, man? Just his effort and energy to be able to play so effectively in the post and be such a change agent when he steps into the game. He did an amazing job tonight, I think, of just being what he's supposed to be for this team, coming off the bench. I ran down his stat line once before, but let's talk about it one more time. 12 points on 5 of 6 shooting. Perfect from the free throw line again tonight. Now, he only had 3 rebounds, but all 3 of them were big because 2 of them were 2 big offensive rebounds, and he goes and he gets an assist off of one of them for a 3 from Aiden Holloway. Really great bucket right there. 3 assists in this game. And then he had the 1 steal. No block shots this time, so overall, Auburn didn't block a ton of shots tonight, but crazy enough, 2 of them came from a Darren Scott off the bench. But, man, it was an amazing night to watch them play in this way. Let's get back over to your comments, though. A lot of comments coming in. Stephen Whipple says, 1, Denver Jones needs more touches. 2, Dylan is now what we hoped Austin Wiley would be for us. Good thought. And 3, I'm now on the Auburn is elite train for sure. I think it's so I'll take number 1. I don't know about more touches. I think he needs to get different types of touches because I think what ends up happening for him is that, and he's been very unselfish this year because he's used to being a primary scorer. But I think, I talked about Auburn needing to be able to use him late clock. And I think Bruce Pearl needs to get out of the I need the ball in my point guard's hands mindset so much late in the shot clock and allow a guy like Denver Jones to be a late clock shot creator because he's a guy who can just he can go and make shots from any range. He's a 3-level scorer in that way. I think they need to figure out a way to put the ball in his hands late in the shot clock a couple more times per game to allow him to get into his natural habitat as a primary scorer. And I think you'll see him feed off of those things in other ways. But I love the commitment that Denver Jones has had to the defensive side of the basketball so far this season. He has come a long way from early in the season where I don't think he really understood what it took to be in the right position. I think when they made that trip to Huntsville, that was like him turning the corner. Maybe I don't, because he's from the area. I don't know what it was, but you just really saw him start to get into that place where he felt more comfortable. He scored more points in that game, of course, too, but he's been way more comfortable just on the defensive end since that game. Your second point there about Austin Wiley. I mean, Austin Wiley definitely was. They tried to get the ball to him as a post scorer a lot more, but as a rim runner and as a guy who because really Dylan Cardwell and Austin Wiley were very similar before this season. Guys who would have trouble catching the ball in traffic and they would get pushed around a little bit. Dylan he's playing big boy basketball right now. He's being an enforcer down low, and he's doing a really great job of catching in traffic and being able to be patient when he gets the ball and not having jittery feet. He's doing an excellent job. You saw Austin Wiley do that in certain stretches, and Austin could actually step out and shoot the ball a little bit more, but it's not a bad comparison between those two. And then Auburn is elite. I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to say because listen, we know that this Ole Miss team really didn't they hadn't faced too many quality teams so far this season. They just took an L to LSU, so it's still a little too early to tell what some teams are. I'm still very impressed with Tennessee, still very impressed with Kentucky. I still like what I see from South Carolina. And I actually like what I'm seeing from Mississippi State in stretches as well. So those are going to be interesting games to see how Auburn plays in those. But for a team to be ranked in the top 25 and Auburn to beat up on them like this, that's impressive no matter what you want to call it. So very good team that we have right now with Auburn. Tatiana says, War Damn Eagle, Auburn is dangerous. I will have to agree with you there. Don Cullen echoes something I'm saying. Kentucky and Tennessee looked really good today. We still have a tough road ahead. Absolutely. Absolutely. Greg Wheatley asks, how many points did we score in the second half? I got you, Greg. I will take a look at that right now. 36 points in the second half for Auburn in this game. The half-by-half breakdown was 46 in the first half, 36 in the second half. Ole Miss scoring 27 and 32 in the respective halves there. Frank Colazzo, Colazzo, I said it right. All right. Cheney making sure they covered. Bettors everywhere tipped their hat to him. Yeah, Cheney, man, that block at the end that showcases the athleticism that young man has. Because I'm probably gonna try to like clip that and just have that as a standalone. Auburn Twitter does a good job. They'll probably have that themselves, but he chased that down. Like you saw him. I was like, is he going to go for the block here? And you saw him at the 3-point line just kind of accelerate. And boy, he cleaned that bad. I was like, oh my God. It was scary hours out there. Another super chat from Otis says, we have 11 guys that get a lot of playing time. We don't gas out or tire out. Our bench could start on 100 other D1 teams. And this is a thing, I've seen people talk about, the kind of the ineffectiveness, offensively of a guy like Chris Moore, who tonight played 15 minutes. But Chris Moore is just one of those guys who gives you quality defensive minutes, and he gives you a body that is athletic, and he did a good job of making sure whoever he was guarding didn't really have an easy time of it. And I love Chris Moore for that. I think Coach Pearl knows how to turn people's minutes up and down as necessary if we need the offense. So if we're in a game against a team like Kentucky that's going to score a little bit more, maybe Chris Moore doesn't play as much unless he's saying to himself, hey, the way we're going to win this game is by locking them up defensively, right? Against a guy like Dalton Connect, when you have to play against Kentucky, Chris Moore's going to be a guy who you want to play against him because he's a bigger athletic dude. So you're going to want to put somebody who can be a little bit more physical with him, that can get up and down the floor. They're both around the same height. So you're going to need Chris Moore for stuff like that. And I appreciate what Coach Pearl is doing to make sure that he gets his quality minutes in there. But loving what's happening right now with this team. Oda Smith, another one here, says that's 11 straight double-digit wins, by the way. Apparently, that's the only way we know how to win games this season is by double digits. They're going to blow teams out or we're going to lose close ones. That's really kind of been the story of this season. You either blow them out or you lose a close one. Hopefully, we get into the place where we can win some close ones coming up here as we get into some of the tougher teams on the schedule. Let's see here. A lot of people gushing over the block at the end. Absolutely worth it. We do absolutely see Don Cullen saying we play Ole Miss twice. We do have to make the trip to Oxford coming up here. Jed jumping in saying, love this team at home against anyone. My lone worry is the road game against the Vols. Unfortunately, Auburn usually has to beat the refs and the Vols when the game is in Knoxville. Yep, that will be an interesting game for sure. This year's Tennessee team can absolutely score as opposed to the last few teams that you've seen from Tennessee. They have a primary scorer and some other guys who can knock down threes on the perimeter. And they still have some veterans on that team, particularly in the guard spots that are going to be tough outs. So it's going to be interesting. And they're just as good defensively as they always have been. So, as much as I love this Auburn team, that Tennessee game is one that I've got circled where I'm like, hey, listen, this is going to be a tough one. And they're going to, I think, if game day's not at that game, then I don't know what we're doing anymore, because that should be the game of the week in the country, probably, when those two teams face two teams that are going to be in the tops in the country in defensive efficiency and offensive and scoring. They've got a player of the year candidate that they're giving, or at least a conference player of the year candidate in Dalton Connect, and a guy in Cheney Broom who will probably finish in the top 5 in that same race for conference player of the year. There's no reason why this shouldn't be, the marquee matchup of the week whenever that goes down. I don't know what the date is, but somebody can look that up. All right. Steve Bradley says Kentucky's 7'2" guy got cleared today and scored 13 points for his first game. Man, they gushed a ridiculous amount over this dude. During that game, after that game, they will be talking about this young dude. And I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to even try to. But he's a ball player. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a ball player. Kentucky, again, Tennessee and Kentucky, very formidable teams in this league. And Auburn's going to have a tough time against either of them. Let's see here. Another super chat here from my guy Oda, who says Walker White for Auburn basketball is what Dylan is to Auburn football. I think you mixed up your football and your basketball there. But point taken, Walker White and Dylan are analogs to one another as far as their teams are concerned. Oh, wait a minute. Was Walker White there with his shirt off in the game? Maybe that's what you're saying when you say that, because I don't really be paying attention to what happens for between when they go to commercial or they go to something. My brain is in a whole other place, and I'm actually during the games I'm actually still working, so I'm paying attention when the game is on, and then when they go to something else I'm not paying attention no more because I'm trying to work. So maybe so Walker White was the Jumbotron guy tonight. Got you, Oda. See. Oda's been in here long enough that I can, you know what I'm saying, even through the screen, we're here. I feel you, my guy. I feel you. All right. Thomas Dickey says Tennessee was up big today and their crowd was dead. Our crowd was rowdy all game. This is actually something that Coach Calipari was talking about recently in the media, about how Tennessee sells out the arena and people come to the games, but they're not really actively participating. That's one of actually the bad things that can happen when you have those bigger arenas, is that they can be a wall of sound sometimes when everybody's up and engaged. But if it's a big space and there's just not a lot of people fully engaged, now they were up big in that game, so of course maybe if it had been a closer game, they'd have been into it a little bit more. But when you're in a very big space, it doesn't make it feel like that arena is coming down on top of you. And I've been in Rupp Arena. I went there last season when Auburn played Kentucky, and it's a really nice facility. And it gets loud in there, but it doesn't have the same kind of feel. It absolutely, there's more mystique in that building because of just you see the history around the walls, and you just kind of feel like, oh man, I'm in this place. And it's just it's almost like how the Garden is in New York. That's how it is for college basketball going into that arena. So the mystique is there, but the jungle feels like it is sitting on your neck and it's on the opposite side from where you are on the, but it just feels as if like that entire place is coming down on top of you. And so it's just a different kind of environment. It's kind of like the difference between how it is at like Chapel Hill versus how it is. So like how it is for Duke versus a North Carolina, right? Like North Carolina's got the bigger building, but like when you're in Cameron Indoor, that crowd, I mean, it's like a high school gym, like as far as its size, but the crowd is just on top of you, and they're going absolutely nuts the entire game. So it's just a different kind of environment. It just depends on what kind of environment you want to be able to build up. I think Auburn has built one of the better college basketball environments, if not best, in the country over the last couple of seasons. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to see. Let's see here. Juice Heist jumps in and says, if I was a recruit in Neville tonight, my decision to come to Auburn would be a no-brainer. Listen, it's an environment that you love to play in, man. Like, I don't know how, as a basketball fan, you don't love seeing the way that that bench camaraderie was and the way that that crowd is going crazy and saying to yourself, man, I absolutely have to come play basketball in this place. So it's going to be interesting to see because Coach Pearl's got his work cut out for him year after year now with the way that, listen, we talk about how the transfer portal is. The transfer portal's always been crazy in college basketball. It's gotten crazier now in the era of NIL. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Pearl is able to restock this team. And as we get to the end of the season, we'll definitely shift our focus to that because right now we're enjoying this season. We're not going to freak out about what could be next season if people don't come back. But yes, the arena is absolutely a recruiting pitch. And to that end, you know, you've heard us give overtures about supporting the women's basketball team. If we want to have better situations for our women's basketball team, we got to start creating those types of environments for them. They play tomorrow night versus Team Cross State. So if you're in the area, make sure you stop in and get with the women's team as well. Those tickets aren't going to be super expensive, but it's going to be hopefully a good game for the ladies there. Let's get back into some of this stuff, what we have going on for this game. Again, absolutely obscene numbers from this team and very balanced. Oh, the person I wanted to come back to, I didn't get a chance to come back to, and that's Aiden Holloway. So again, if you listen to me talk, only 5 points in the game, but if you listen to me talk about Aiden Holloway and what I wanted to see from him in this game, I got to see quite a bit of that in this game of him not falling in love with the three. Right, he only took 3 3-pointers in this game, and I think he rushed one of them. Right, and it was open, but he rushed it a little bit. He didn't set his feet properly, but the other two were good looks, and he knocked down one of them. That's more of the game that I would like to see from Aiden. And I saw him get downhill. I saw him try to get himself to the free throw line. I saw him play like a complete guard today, right? Like he in this game, shot 4 threes. He's 1 of 4 from the 3-point lines. Um, but what I did see from Aiden, and let me get into his game statistics here: 2 of 2 from the free throw line. 3 assists, no turnovers, and a steal in 22 minutes. That's the kind of game I want to see from Aiden Holloway. Now, I'd like to see him score more points, but I like the selection of his shots tonight. He didn't feel like he was pressing to try to, shoot some, logo 3 at any point in time that he didn't need to. Got downhill when he came off of those screens. He was aggressive getting to the basket. He's got a good layup package when he gets in there. So I need to see more of that from Aiden this year because I think teams are going to try to dare him to. They're going to say, all right, I'm going to give you the deep threes until you start making those more consistently, and he's not, and have him not settle for those, him get into some better shots. I want to see him do that. I liked the game that you had from Aiden tonight. Trey Donaldson, only 3 points tonight. He had the 1 3, so he was 1 of 2 from the 3-point line. But he as well had 3 assists, so your backcourt gets you 6 assists and only 1 turnover. 6-to-1 for your point guard position tonight. Assist to turnover ratio, absolutely phenomenal from those. The only person who had a negative plus minus tonight was Chris Moore, and that's really more so because he just didn't score. If he had put a couple of shots in that he only took 2 shots tonight, made one, missed. I think they counting the alley-oop miss as one, which that wasn't a great pass, but probably something that you want Chris to come down with. But overall, again, I think everybody did an amazing job tonight in the minutes that they played. So let's see here. Chris S, 58% field goal, 44% three, 91% from the free throw line. Yeah, that is, again, how do you beat a team that's shooting that way? If they're going to shoot this well and play the kind of defense they play, like, good luck. They help. This is a team in Ole Miss that has been putting up 70-something points per game. They didn't break 60 tonight. Didn't break 60. So, and again, one of the better three-point shooting teams in our league, shot below 30%. They have, if you listen to me on the pregame, I said there's like 6 guys on this team who shoot 30+% from three, and as a team, they shoot 30 and above, right? Did not happen tonight. Auburn's one of the best three-point defense teams in the country, though, and they've just done a really good job of making teams take shots that they don't really want to consistently. So, amazing job defensively tonight from this team. James Barnett jumps in and don't care what anyone says. This is a Final Four team. Who has a better defense and who goes deeper than us? That will be an advantage down the stretch, just my opinion. I think that's the biggest thing, is that the depth of this team is going to be difficult to combat. Now, I will say, again, y'all got to watch a little bit more basketball than Auburn basketball. Kentucky is deep. Kentucky can go 9 deep and be really good. 9 deep, right? Like, I think Kentucky could put 4 or 5 guys off of their bench that could go start somewhere around the country. They don't have, I don't think, the minutes distribution that Auburn does. They're a little bit more top heavy in their minutes, but it's not because those other guys can't play. And then they just added another guy for depth onto that rotation, which makes them even more ridiculous. But I think Kentucky is a pretty deep basketball team, and there's some other teams around the country, I think, that do a really good job of getting to their bench. And I think they get a little bit more from their starting lineup than Auburn does, just because of the way that Bruce rotates his minutes. But, yeah, this is a team that absolutely can be dangerous in the tournament, and I am looking forward to seeing how far they can progress. All right. I think that's it, man. I think I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys for jumping in here with me. Really great win tonight, and looking forward to seeing what happens down the stretch. Before you get out of here, go ahead and share this video with somebody. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. And we'll be back at you all today, Saturday. So tomorrow we'll be back at you guys with the weekend tailgate. We'll talk a little bit more about this game with the rest of the guys. We will get into some more Auburn football stuff. But until then, and as always, War Eagle.